Good afternoon, students. Well, it's afternoon for me. So this is our first lecture. I'd already done some work in class in terms of doing a lecture in class, but I wanted to do more of a proper lecture now. So the first unit we're looking at is Introduction to Organizations and Organization Theory, also Introduction to Organizational Design. Okay. So for this unit, we're going to be looking at, or at the end of the unit, you should be able to discuss current challenges that organizations face, describe the importance of organizations in society, describe how the structural dimensions of organizations are shaped by contingencies organizations face. Also, to outline the evolution of organizational design, compare and contrast organic and mechanistic organizational designs, including the contingency factors typically associated with each, and also to explain the current trend towards the bossless organization design. The organization design is affected by a number of challenges that are happening in the environment. And in Unit 2, we will look at the environment in a little bit more detail, which when we talk about the environment, we're really talking about the external environment. But we're going to look now at some challenges that are facing organizations that cause them to also have to change their design or modify their design according to what is happening in the external environment, just in their response to remain sustainable. So the first one is globalization. So today, successful organizations feel at home anywhere in the world. So companies can locate different parts of the organization wherever it makes the most business sense. So top leadership in one country and technical brain power and production in other locales. Now related trends are global outsourcing or contracting out some functions to organizations in other countries. And some companies like Nike does that, and strategic partnering with foreign firms to gain global advantage, like what Google does. So what happens with the globalization is that from different angles, we know that as consumers, we can buy from companies overseas and ship to our country. If you have a business, you can ship your supplies from China or the US, or Panama, wherever, to Jamaica, etc. Now that has been going on for a very, very long time. But what is kind of, I don't want to say new, I'd say in the last decade, is that many companies have different divisions of their firms in different countries. And outsourcing has made that popular. For instance, the BPO sector in Jamaica, where we have companies like Amazon, outsourcing their customer service to countries like Jamaica and other developing countries and that kind of thing. So these are some things that are happening in the global world, and companies have to change their design to fit with these changes that are happening, that globalization is causing. Intense competition is another one. So the growing global interdependence creates new advantages, but it also means that the environment for companies has become extremely complex and extremely competitive. Customers want low prices for quality goods and services, and organizations that can meet those demands will win. So customers are becoming more demanding. A lot more companies have emerged in the last maybe 20 years as well. So, times gone by, we may have like 5 major companies that do a particular thing, sell a particular product. Now we have multiple companies, and globalization contribute to that as well, because a lot more people have access to the means of production, and therefore we have a lot more companies competing in the same market or industry spaces. And to top that off, customers are becoming more demanding. They want more for less, and whichever company can provide that will win. So we have a lot of companies just constantly competing. So competition is very, very intense. Another challenge is sustainability, the green movement, and ethics. So today's managers face tremendous pressures to dial down their single-minded pursuit of financial gain and pay closer attention to the organization's impact on employees, the customers, communities, and the environment. Now, many companies are embracing the philosophy of sustainability, which refers to economic development that generates wealth and meets the need of current generation while saving their environment so future generations can meet their needs. So what companies are forced to do, when in Jamaica now we have NEPA that oversees a lot of these things. What is happening in the environment? Are companies depleting the earth's resources? We're cutting down the trees to make paper. We are polluting the rivers and the ocean and that kind of thing. All of those things now have to be monitored. And then companies again have to change up their structure and their design to deal with sustainability and ethics and corporate responsibility and that kind of thing. Speed and responsiveness kind of related to the intense competition and what customers want and that kind of thing. But a significant challenge for organizations is to respond quickly and decisively to environmental changes, organizational crises, or shifting customer expectations. So for much of the 20th century, organizations operated in a relatively stable environment. So managers could focus on designing structures and systems that keep the organization running smoothly and efficiently. Now, there was little need to search for new ways to cope with increased competition, volatile environmental shifts, or changing customer demands. Today, new products, new companies, and even entirely new industries rise and fall faster than ever. So what this is pretty much saying is that because of the intense competition that I discussed before, things are just moving so rapidly and changing at such a fast pace. The technology, how things are being done, how new technologies are emerging, new products are emerging, new industries are emerging, etc., etc. So companies that survive are the ones that are able to speedily respond to changes in the external environment. In Unit 2, as I said before, we're going to look at the external environment in detail and see how it can cause an organization to experience complexity and instability and that kind of thing. So speed and responsiveness is a major challenge. Also, the digital organizations and big data analysis. Now, today's realm of the internet, social networking, blogs, online collaboration, web-based communities, podcasting, mobile devices, the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram, Skype is radically different from the world. Many established managers are familiar and comfortable. Now, the digital revolution has changed everything, not just how we communicate with one another, find information and share ideas, but also how organizations are designed and managed, how businesses operate, and how employees do jobs. So one significant aspect of the digital revolution is the use of big data analytics, which refers to technologies, skills, and processes for searching and examining massive sets of data to uncover hidden patterns and correlations. So an example of this would be Amazon. And Amazon is an e-commerce company that have millions, probably billions of customers. And in order to keep their business sustainable and respond to customer needs and develop new products, offer new services, etc., they use big data analytics. So what they do is track our behaviors online. What are we searching for? They have that data. What are the things that we are buying? They have that data. They have the AI picking up things in the reviews that people write. So a lot of that kind, this digital thing and the big data analysis is that they are tracking what we're doing so that they can give us more of what we ask for and just take away what it is that we don't want. So, and social media help them to do that as well. And the companies that are better able to really analyze customer needs and that kind of thing are the customers that will win. So those are some challenges that are faced by our organization that also affect how the organization is designed. So let us look a little bit now at what is an organization. Organizations are social entities that are goal-directed They are designed as deliberately structured and coordinated activity systems. They're also linked to the external environment. An organization is a means to an end, and it has to be designed to accomplish that end, which the bottom line, to earn money. It might be thought of as a tool or machine to get things done and achieve a specific purpose. Now, the purpose will vary, but the central aspect of an organization is the coordination of people and resources to collectively accomplish desired goals. An organization is not a building or a set of policies and procedures. Yes, those things are important, but organizations are made up of people and their relationships with one another. And at the end of the day, the coordinating of all of these people is in line with achieving the organization's goals, which means that organization has to be designed in a certain way to coordinate people and group them together and work towards achieving the organization's goals. An organization is what we would call an open system. And what that means is that it obtains inputs from the external environment, adds value through a transformation process, and discharges products and services back to the environment. So what are some inputs? Raw materials, people, information, financial resources, etc. Those things go into the organization. The running of the organization, producing of the product, etc., is the transformation process. The transformation process can be quite complex, and that is where the organizational structure primarily comes into play, transformation process, and then they deliver the products and services to the customer. We call it an open system. Now, even though there are boundaries between departments as well as those between organizations, they are becoming more flexible and diffuse as companies face the need to respond to changes in the external environment more rapidly. An organization cannot exist without interacting with customers, suppliers, competitors, and other elements of the external environment. Some companies are even cooperating with their competitors, sharing information and technology to their mutual advantage. And when we reach the unit that we look at interorganizational relationships, we look at how companies, even companies that are competing against each other, are working together for, just to survive in the marketplace. So the open system is when you put in the inputs, you transform the process, then you deliver products and services to your customers, which is pretty simple. The importance of organizations, first and foremost, is that they bring together resources to achieve the desired goals, which is pretty much what we're talking about with the open systems. Produce goods and services efficiently. They facilitate innovation. Companies have to be continuously innovative, cannot be stuck one place, always have to be coming up with new ways of doing things again because of some of the challenges that we discussed. Globalization, intense competition, and all of those things. Use modern manufacturing and information technologies, adapt to and influence a rapidly changing environment, accommodate challenges of diversity, ethics, and coordination, also create value for owners, customers, and employees. And organizations have to do all of these things if it is going to survive. Now, organizations have different dimensions, and we call them the structural dimensions and the contingency factors, and they're all dimensions of organization. Structural dimension provide labels to describe the internal characteristics of an organization. They create a basis for measuring and comparing organizations. So the structural dimensions would be whether or not an organization is formalized, whether or not it is specialized. What does the hierarchy of authority look like? Also, is it a very complex organization in terms of its structure? And also, what is the level of centralization or decentralization? And this refers primarily to decision making. Is decision making made at the top or the bottom or whatever? So we call these the structural dimensions. Structural dimensions are directly impacted by a set of contingency factors. These are the larger elements that influence the structural dimensions, including the organization's size, technology that organization uses, the environment, the external environment in general, culture, and goals. Contingency factors describe the organizational setting that influences and shapes the structural dimensions. So all the organizations with their structural dimensions are impacted by the culture, the external environment, the goals they make, the size, and the technology. And let us look at those things some more. When we talk about formalization, it pertains to the amount of written documentation in the organization. Documentation includes procedures, job descriptions, regulations, and policy manuals. Now, organizations that are highly structured and also that employ a lot of persons are highly formalized. It is necessary for the organization to be smoothly run. You can't have everybody doing whatever they want. You have to have those rules and regulations, and everything have to be in black and white. And in most organizations, they have their policies and procedures available to all members. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you know what the organization's policies and regulations and procedures are, and you have to comply with them. Specialization now is the degree to which the organizational tasks are subdivided into separate jobs. Do we have different departments, or do we have everybody doing a little of this, a little of that? Small organizations will not have much specialization because they have everybody doing everything. Larger organizations going to be very specialized. We have a marketing department and finance and production and HR and that kind of thing. And people are grouped according to their specialization. The hierarchy of authority describes who reports to whom and the span of control for each manager. So this kind of refers to the organizational chart where you have frontline workers or lower level workers, then you have supervisors, then you have middle managers, then the CEO, and people report to each other according to that hierarchy. Again, in small business, you may not have a hierarchy. You may have the manager and just the employees. In larger business, there is a lot of formality going on. There is also a hierarchy of authority. Complexity is the next one now that refers to the number of distinct departmental units or activities within the organization. So even with the hierarchy and the specialization and the formalization, complexity will differ. Some organizations may just have, the different departments, they have the hierarchy and that kind of thing. And you just have, even if it's a big organization, the complexity is. If it is a multinational corporation with different divisions and different product lines, and the organization look more like what we would call a matrix organization, where people reporting to different people, managers, like the same set of people reporting to different departments, it becomes very, very complex. A lot of what we call hybrid organizations also that can become very, very complex. So we have a combination of a tall structure and a flat structure. The reporting, it's not so easy to understand, so it becomes very complex. While you may have some organizations that, even though they're large organizations, the complexity. Centralization refers to the hierarchical level that has authority to make decisions. Can decisions be made at the lower levels or only at the higher levels? So sometimes bringing the term bureaucracy is that sometimes in a lot of very formalized and specialized organizations, decisions are only made at the top, or major decisions, I say, are only made at the top. Stifles creativity, but it also serves the purpose of managing the organization well. Contingency factors now. The contingency factors are size, which can be measured for the organization as a whole or for specific components such as a plant or a division. Because especially when a multinational corporation have different divisions, etc., in different countries, sometimes when they're looking at the size, they may look at it in the individual countries and not as the organization as a whole. Organizational technology refers to the tools, techniques, and actions used to transform inputs into outputs. The environment includes all elements outside the boundary of the organization that we're going to be looking at in the next unit. Now, the organization's goals and strategy define the purpose and competitive techniques that set it apart from other organizations. So the overall competitive strategy that they use, and they benchmark it against other organizations, coming up with creative ways and innovative ways of doing things, etc., etc. And then an organization's culture, which is super important. It is the underlying set of key values, beliefs, understandings, and norms shaped by employees. And the organization's culture drives the organization. Super important. It can make or break the organization. So these are some contingency factors now that directly impact the organization's structural dimensions. Performance and effectiveness outcomes. Now, the whole point of understanding structural and contingency factors is to design the organization in such a way as to achieve high performance and effectiveness. So we look at efficiency and effectiveness, which sometimes we use them together, sometimes we use them interchangeably, but they are different. Efficiency refers to the amount of resources used to achieve the organization's goals. It is based on the quantity of raw materials, money, and employees necessary to produce a given level of output. So the efficiency would be using the least amount of resources possible to produce or give you the best outcome possible as well. So it involves a lot of different resources, physical resources, employees, financial resources, that kind of thing. Effectiveness now is a broader term, meaning the degree to which an organization achieves its goals. And this would be measured against the goals that the organization set for itself. And how did you achieve, or how did the organization achieve these goals? Did they 50%, 70% of the goals and that kind of thing, did they achieve all the goals that they set out to do? So efficiency and effectiveness is important for an organization and also affects, or how the organization is designed affects its efficiency and its effectiveness. An alternative approach to measuring effectiveness is the stakeholder approach. It assesses diverse organizational activities by looking at what various organizational stakeholders want from the organization and the satisfaction level of each. Now, a stakeholder is any group within or outside of the organization that has a stake in the organization's outcomes. The examples of stakeholders include customers who want high quality products and services provided in a timely manner at a reasonable price, employees who want adequate pay and benefits, good working conditions, and appropriate supervision. And then you have stockholders or shareholders who want a good financial return on their investment. There are a lot of other stakeholders, but we're just looking at these three as examples, and all of these stakeholders impact the organization and will drive the company to be effective and efficient in their operations. We're going to move on now to the evolution of organization design. So we're looking at some different aspects or factors that have evolved over time. So the first one is efficiency is everything. This was pioneered by Frederick Winslow Taylor. Scientific management is this thing, and it emphasizes scientifically determining jobs and management practices as the way to improve efficiency and labor productivity. Taylor proposed that workers could be retooled like machines, their physical and mental gears recalibrated for better productivity. So scientific management, as you would know from your other courses, is really about getting the job done. It is very task-oriented and does not take into consideration the people factor. Another one is how to get organized as we evolve over time. Whereas scientific management focused primarily on the technical core, administrative principles look at the design and functioning of the organization as a whole. So for example, Henry Fayol proposed 14 principles of management, such as each subordinate receive orders from only one supervisor. Similar activities in an organization should be grouped together under one manager. These principles form the foundation for modern management practice and organization design, and it contributed to the development of bureaucratic organizations. Now, this stems from same scientific management administrative principles, but it still, to a large extent, ignores the people factor, the human relations factor. We move now into what about people? Now, the Hawthorne Studies, again, you would have read about or know about the Hawthorne Studies from other courses like HR management, and it concluded that positive treatment of employees improved their motivation and productivity. This led to a revolution in worker treatment and laid the groundwork for subsequent work examining treatment of workers, leadership, motivation, and human resource management. These human relations and behavioral approaches added new and important contributions to the study of management and organization. So then we started to have more human relations approaches, taking into consideration that people have a life outside of work that is going to affect them at work, basically. So we cannot just think about getting the job done. We have to think about making people comfortable and having work-life balance and that kind of thing. So it begs the question now, can bureaucracies be flexible? So in the 1980s, it produced the new corporate cultures that valued lean staff, flexibility, and learning. Rapid response to the customer, engaged employees, and quality products. So organizations began experimenting with teams, flattened hierarchies, and participative management approaches because things were changing. Customer relations changing, the competition in the environment changing. So organization had to be a little bit more relaxed. But nonetheless, they still maintained much of the scientific management and the administrative principles. Now, some organizations can be described as mechanistic in their design, where their main focus is just efficiency and getting the job done, or they may have an organic design that is more about innovation and learning and improving. So a mechanistic design means that organization is characterized by machine-like standard rules, procedures, and a clear hierarchy of authority. Organizations are highly formalized and are also centralized in that decision-making at the top, with most decisions made at the top. A mechanistic design is concerned primarily with efficiency, getting the job done in the right way first time. An organic design means that the organization is much looser and more relaxed, free-flowing, and adaptive. Rules and regulations often are not written down, or if written down, they are loosely applied. So we see here a comparison between, or a contrast between mechanistic design and organic design. So for the mechanistic, centralized structure, decision-making at the top. Organistic design, decentralized structure, lower levels of the organizational chart can make decisions. The hierarchy is very strict and very vertical, while for the organic, there is more collaborative teamwork, and you have cross-departmental communication and that kind of thing. You have vertical communication here, straight up the hierarchy, horizontal communication. This department can freely talk to and make decisions with that other department. You have specialized tasks as opposed to empowered roles, where you may be doing more than one thing as a part of your job function. Also, mechanistic design is very, very formal. And there are few, for the organic design, there are few rules, and it is not very formal, informal. So some of the contingency factors that would impact the mechanistic design is that these companies are usually very large, their strategy is efficiency, the environment that they're operating in is pretty stable. And we'll look at stable and complex environment in the next unit. They have a very rigid culture, and usually they use manufacturing technology. In the organic design, the contingency factors that impact this design is that usually it's a small company. Their main aim is to be innovative. It's a changing environment, which means that they have to respond and be adaptive to whatever is happening in the external environment. Their culture is also adaptive, and they usually use or implement service technology. So this is just a bigger demonstration of the same thing I was discussing before. Now to wrap up, we are going to talk about the bossless design. And To some extent, organizations are still imprinted with the hierarchical, formalized mechanistic approach that arose in the 19th century with Frederick Taylor. Yet current challenges require greater flexibility for most organizations. So while the organization is always going to have a boss, it is always going to have some kind of a hierarchy. It has become a lot more relaxed. And in a bossless company, there are typically no job titles, no seniority, and no managers or executives. People work together on an equal basis. This is not realistic for large organizations. It's more realistic for smaller companies. So one issue pushing the trend toward extreme decentralization is the growth of knowledge-based work, where ideas and expertise are the main source of value creation. So in a knowledge-based organization, managers rarely have all the expertise needed to solve problems or create the products and services the organization needs to succeed. Also, people at all levels must continually contributing ideas. The need for rapid response as the environment or customer needs change quickly, and the ability to share information through the company with information technology are other factors leading to greater decentralization. I want to say that having a bossless organizational design can be very chaotic, and that is why it wouldn't work for large organizations. The hierarchy is needed. Even if you're going to have more of a hybrid structure, have a bossless organization can, end up in chaos and that kind of thing. So while it is an idea that is emerging, it is not very common. All right, so that is it for your introduction to organizations and organizational design. And next unit, we are going to be looking at the external environment.